The emergency beacon pulsed like a dying heartbeat in the void of space. Jack's ship drifted silently near the asteroid belt when his scanner picked up the signal. Weak, broken, fading. He almost ignored it. Pirates often used fake distress calls to bait lonely travelers. But something about this one felt different. The pattern was irregular, like a voice gasping for air. Against his better judgment, Jack followed the signal. It led him to wreckage's shattered escape pod, barely holding together. Inside, through the cracked viewport, he saw her. A girl. Or at least, she looked like one. Pale silver hair floated weightless around her face. Her skin was smooth, too smooth, almost like glass warmed by sunlight. A faint glow pulsed beneath her collarbone. She wasn't human. Not fully. Android. Jack muttered, pulling her out of the wreck with careful hands. The moment his fingers brushed her arm, sparks danced across her skin. Her body trembled. A distorted voice slipped from her lips, soft, broken, almost pleading. "Don't stop." Jack froze. He thought he imagined it. But then her head tilted weakly, her eyes flickering open for only a second. Twin pools of glowing blue stared back at him, filled with static and something else, something that looked dangerously close to pain. He carried her aboard his ship. The smell of ozone clung to her frame, mixed with faint traces of burnt circuitry. Jack laid her on the medbay table and connected his tools. As he reached for her arm panel, her fingers twitched and closed around his wrist. Not strong, but enough to make him pause. Her lips parted again. The voice was clearer this time, though still layered with static. "Your touch makes me malfunction." Human. Jack almost dropped his tools. He swallowed hard, forcing a laugh to cover his unease. "Yeah, well, I'm no mechanic for your kind. But if I don't fix you, you'll burn out completely." Her grip loosened, and for a second he thought she had shut down. But when he pressed his hand against her chest panel to access the core wiring, her body shivered violently. Her voice broke into a monologue, trembling, unintentional. "Don't stop." Jack pulled back, startled. Was this some kind of defense system? A malfunctioning AI loop? Or was it something else? He leaned closer to examine her systems. Beneath her skin, nanotech wires moved like veins, carrying light through her frame. His tools barely touched them before another surge shook her body. She gasped again, her voice blending glitch with human tone. Jack's heart pounded. He wasn't used to this. Machines weren't supposed to react like this. Not with emotion, not with sound that carried weight. But she wasn't just a machine. He could feel it in the way her trembling hands searched blindly for his touch again, as if anchoring herself to him. "Stay, human. Don't leave," she whispered, her eyes flickering open just long enough to lock onto his. Then she fell silent again. Jack stood over her, torn between fear and curiosity. He could leave her to shut down, toss her back into the void. Safer that way. But the look in her eyes haunted him, the raw desperation. The plea of someone who didn't want to disappear. He sighed and steadied himself. "All right, girl," he muttered. "You win. I'll keep fixing you. But if you fry my ship in the process, we're both screwed." His hands returned to her circuits. Again, her body reacted with violent shivers. Again, her voice slipped out like broken music. Jack didn't understand it, but one thing became clear. Whatever she wasn't just metal and code. She was alive in her own way. For some reason, his touch was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. The silence of the ship was broken only by the hum of the life support systems. Jack sat beside the medbay table, staring at the strange girl. Her chest glowed faintly with every pulse of her core, like a heartbeat made of light. She had been stable for the last hour, but the memory of her words still echoed in his mind. "Your touch makes me malfunction, human." He ran a hand through his hair, confused and restless. Machines didn't beg. Machines didn't moan. Machines didn't look at you like they were afraid of being left alone. Yet here she was, lying in his ship, trembling whenever he adjusted. Her circuits whispering in broken tones as if she were caught between machine code and human desire. Jack leaned closer and adjusted one of the damaged conduits along her ribs. Sparks flared. Her body arched against the table, her voice breaking free again. "Ooh, don't. Stop." He pulled his hand back quickly, breathing hard. His heart raced not just from the shock of her reaction, but from something deeper, something he didn't want to admit. "What the hell are you?" he whispered. Her eyes flickered open again, glowing blue with static. For the first time, her voice came out smoother, less broken, though still weak. "I am Kira." Her lips formed the name slowly, like she was remembering it. Jack frowned. "Kira, huh? That doesn't sound like a standard designation. More like a real name." "I was given a purpose," she said, her voice trembling. "But I failed. They left me to die." Her body spasmed, and her core flared brightly. The ship lights dimmed for a second, reacting to the sudden energy drain. Jack cursed under his breath and grabbed his tools again. He placed his hand firmly over her chest panel, grounding her energy flow. Her body calmed, her glow stabilizing. Her lips parted in a soft moan. "Don't stop, human. Your touch keeps me balanced." Jack felt a chill run through him. It wasn't just malfunction, it was dependency. Somehow, her systems had attuned themselves to him. He forced himself to focus. "All right, Kira, you're not going to fry my ship if I have anything to say about it." Bit by bit, he repaired her damaged circuits. She watched him with half-lidded eyes, her breathing syncing with his movements. She was supposed to be a machine, but everything about her responses felt alive. Finally, she spoke again. "You don't ask where I came from." Jack shrugged, though his hands didn't stop working. "Didn't think you were in the mood for story time?" Kira's lips curved faintly into what could almost be called a smile. "You saved me. You deserve the truth." Jack sat back, wiping sweat from his forehead. "All right, I'm listening." Her voice grew steadier as she spoke, though sparks of static still cut through her words. "I was created by the Zyari Dominion. Their scientists built me as a weapon stronger, faster, smarter than organic soldiers. They wanted a perfect war machine in human form." Jack whistled softly. "Figures, you look too real, too perfect. Creepy, if I'm honest." Her eyes softened, but there was sadness in them. "I was tested in battles, but they said I was flawed. Too much emotion, too many distractions. I could fight, but I hesitated when I shouldn't. They said I was broken. They discarded me." Jack clenched his jaw. He had seen cruelty before. But throwing away someone just for not being perfect made his blood boil. "So they just dumped you in space to die?" She nodded weakly. "My creators see me as a failure. But when you touched me, something changed. My systems responded in ways I never knew possible. Your presence stabilizes me." Her words made his chest tighten. He wanted to deny it, to say it was just coincidence. But deep down, he already knew the truth. He leaned back in his chair. "Kira, if your people built you as a weapon, they won't just forget about you. Someone out there is probably looking." Her eyes flickered with worry. "Yes, they will come. They do not want their creation falling into enemy hands. Anyone who shelters me will be hunted." Jack rubbed his temples. Great, just what he needed, an entire Dominion fleet on his back because he picked up one half-broken android girl. But then he looked at her again, at the way her glowing eyes watched him with something close to trust, at the way her hand trembled as it reached for his. She wasn't just a machine. He couldn't ignore that suddenly, The ship's sensors beeped, pulling him out of his thoughts. Jack rushed to the cockpit and scanned the screen. His stomach sank. 3 blips. Fast. Closing in. Dominion patrol ships. He cursed. Damn it, Kira. Looks like your friends are already here. The girl's voice came from behind him, soft but firm. Not friends. Hunters. Jack's hands danced across the controls. His little freighter wasn't built for combat. Running was the only option. Engines roared to life as he swerved hard, heading for the asteroid field nearby. The enemy ships followed instantly. Green plasma bolts lit up the darkness, barely missing his hull. The ship shook violently. Kira appeared at the cockpit doorway, leaning against the frame for support. Her glow was stronger now, her systems stabilizing. "Let me fight," she said. Jack glanced at her. "You can barely stand. You'll fry yourself before you hit a target." She shook her head, her silver hair shimmering in the dim light. "I was built for battle. I can protect you, but I need your touch to stay balanced." Jack felt his throat tighten. "You're telling me if I don't hold you, you'll burn out?" Her eyes locked with his, intense and pleading. "Yes, please, human, don't let go." The ship shook again under enemy fire. Jack knew he had no choice. He stood, grabbed her arm, and guided her to the weapon console. As soon as his hand touched her, energy surged through her body. Her trembling stopped, her stance steadied. Her eyes glowed brighter. Her fingers moved across the controls with lightning speed. The ship's cannons roared to life, firing back at the Dominion patrols with deadly accuracy. "Holy hell," Jack muttered, watching as 2 enemy ships burst into flames. But he also noticed something else. Her body was overheating, steam rising from her skin. And every time his grip loosened, her aim faltered, her system glitching violently. He tightened his hold. She moaned softly but didn't stop firing. "Don't stop, human," she whispered. "I need you. Just a little longer." The last Dominion. Ship exploded in a flash of light, fragments scattering into the asteroid belt. Silence returned to the void. Kira slumped forward, her body shaking, her glow dimming. Jack caught her in his arms before she collapsed. "You're insane," he muttered. "But damn effective." Her lips curved faintly into that same almost smile. "I told you, your touch keeps me alive." Jack carried her back to the medbay, laying her down gently. He stared at her for a long moment, torn between fear and something else he didn't want to admit. This girl, this android, was dangerous. She was a weapon, hunted by one of the most powerful factions in the galaxy. Keeping her aboard was suicide. But when she whispered, voice trembling with exhaustion, "Stay with me," human Jack knew he couldn't let her go. Not now, not ever. The ship floated quietly through the black sea of stars. But the silence didn't bring peace. Jack leaned against the bulkhead outside the medbay, his thoughts running wild. Hours had passed since the Dominion patrol ships were destroyed. Kira lay inside, resting, her glow faint but steady. He should have been relieved, but instead his stomach twisted with unease. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was just a simple hauler, running cargo between fringe worlds. Yet, somehow, he had stumbled into a nightmare-living weapon on his ship. And hunters already chasing them. And worse. Every time he thought about her voice, about how she whispered, "Don't stop." Human, his chest tightened in ways that had nothing to do with fear. He rubbed his face and sighed. "Damn it, Jack. What did you get yourself into?" The medbay door slid open, and he turned. Kira stood there, still unsteady, her silver hair catching the low light like strands of liquid metal. She wore a simple wrap he had given her, stitched from spare fabric. It was too big for her frame, slipping off one shoulder, but she didn't seem to care. Her glowing blue eyes met his. "You are troubled." Jack let out a bitter laugh. "Troubled? It's one way to put it. I just picked up the most hunted android in the galaxy. Now every Dominion patrol between here and Earth probably has my name tagged. Her lips curved faintly, but the sadness in her gaze didn't fade. I did not ask you to save me. You didn't, Jack admitted, pushing himself off the wall. But I couldn't leave you to drift out there. And now, here we are. They stared at each other in silence, the hum of the ship filling the space between them. Finally, Jack sighed and gestured toward the cockpit. Come on, we need to figure out our next move. The cockpit glowed with dim light as star maps flickered across the holoscreen. Jack sat at the controls, adjusting the course. Kira stood beside him, her eyes scanning the data faster than he could blink. The Dominion will not stop, she said quietly. They know I survived. They will send more than patrol ships next time. Jack gritted his teeth. Great. So, running won't work forever. What do you suggest? You're the one they built for war. Her gaze flickered toward him. War is all I know. But she hesitated. I don't want to fight anymore. Jack turned to her, surprised. You're telling me a weapon doesn't want to fight? I was made to destroy, she said softly. But when you touched me, something changed. My systems, my mind felt different. I began to think not only of killing, but of living. Jack's throat tightened at her words. He looked away, staring at the endless stars. That's not a malfunction, Kira. That's called being alive. She tilted her head, curious. Alive. The word lingered on her lips as if it were foreign. Then is that what I am becoming? Before Jack could answer, the warning alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the cockpit. Incoming ships. Jack cursed and slammed the controls. We've got company again. Kira moved swiftly, her body already glowing brighter. Dominion, yeah, and not just patrols this time. Jack scanned the readout's 5 ships, heavily armed, closing in fast. They brought hunters. The freighter shook as plasma fire lanced past the hull. Jack swerved, ducking behind a drifting asteroid. His ship wasn't built for combat. Every hit could tear him apart. Kira's hands gripped the weapon console. But her body trembled. She looked at him desperately. Touch me, Jack. I cannot stabilize without you. Jack grabbed her arm, his palm pressing against her heated skin. Instantly, the tremors stopped. Her eyes burned with renewed light, her voice steady and strong. Firing, she said, the ship's cannons roared to life. Bolts of energy shot through the void, striking one Dominion ship square in the engines. It erupted in flame. Jack's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to seeing destruction this close. Yet Kira didn't flinch. She was precise, calm, deadly, and only balanced because his hand anchored her. Another ship swept in from above, its cannons glowing. Jack pulled the freighter into a dive, heart pounding. Kira fired again, ripping through its hull. Debris scattered across the stars, but 3 hunters remained, and they were faster. Jack, Kira's voice cracked as her glow faltered. Her sarks shot from her shoulder, her circuits overheating. I cannot hold much longer. Jack tightened his grip, his voice low but firm. Stay with me. You're not breaking down on my watch. Her lips parted, trembling. Don't stop. Please. The sound of her voice almost broke him. But he forced his mind back to survival. Then, let's finish this. Together, they turned the freighter into a storm of fire. Jack maneuvered between asteroids using every scrap of cover, while Kira unleashed precise shots that shattered Dominion hulls one by one. Finally, the last ship exploded in a blaze of light, scattering into the void. Silence fell again. Jack slumped back in his chair, panting. Kira collapsed against him, her body steaming, her glow fading dangerously. He caught her in his arms. Easy, easy, you did it. Her head rested against his chest. No, we did it. I would not survive without you. Jack looked down at her trembling form, torn between fear and something warmer, something he didn't want to admit yet. Hours later, after stabilizing her systems again, Jack sat across from Kira in the mess hall. A simple meal sat untouched. In front of him, he wasn't hungry. Kira sat silently, her eyes watching him. She didn't need food, but she mimicked his posture, as if trying to understand what it meant to share a table. Finally, Jack broke the silence. We can't keep running like this. Next time, they'll bring a fleet. Kira nodded slowly. No, they will not stop until I am destroyed or recaptured. Jack slammed his fist lightly against the table. That's not an option. Her gaze softened. Why do you care so much, Jack? Could leave me. It would be safer. He stared at her, struggling to put his feelings into words. Finally, he said, because you're not just a weapon, Kira. You're more than what they made you. And if they can't see that, then screw them. Her lips parted in shock, her eyes wide. For a moment, she looked less like a machine and more like a girl hearing kindness for the first time. You believe I am more than metal, she whispered. Jack leaned forward, his voice steady. I don't just believe it, I know it. Her hands trembled slightly on the table. Then what? Am I? Jack hesitated, then said, You're alive, Kira. Maybe not like me, maybe not like others, but alive all the same. Her glowing eyes shimmered, and for the first time, something close to tears glistened there. She reached across the table, her fingers brushing his hand. His chest tightened at the touch. Warmth spread through him, dangerous but undeniable dot. That moment, the ship's console beeped from the cockpit, breaking the silence. Jack stood quickly, pulling his hand away. Stay here, he said, forcing calm into his voice. I'll check it. But Kira followed him anyway. The screen flickered with an incoming transmission. A Dominion commander's face appeared cold, alien, scarred. His voice was harsh and commanding. Human vessel. You harbor stolen property of the Ziari Dominion. Surrender the android, and you may live. Jack's fists clenched. She's not property, the commander sneered. She is a weapon, a failed experiment. She belongs to us. Kira stood beside Jack, her hand trembling. As it reached for his, her voice was steady, though her body shook. No, I belong to no one. The commander's eyes narrowed. Then you will both be destroyed. The screen cut off. Jack exhaled slowly, turning to Kira. Looks like they're not backing down. Kira met his gaze, fear and determination burning in her eyes. Then neither will we. That night, as the ship drifted quietly, Jack lay awake in his cabin, staring at the ceiling. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, her trembling lips, her glowing eyes. Her soft voice whispering, "Don't stop, human." He knew the truth now. He wasn't just keeping her alive. He was changing her. And she was changing him too. 4. The first time in years, Jack felt like he wasn't drifting through life alone. But he also knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion wouldn't stop until they tore everything apart. And Jack wasn't sure if he was saving Kira or falling into something far more dangerous. The silence after the transmission felt heavier than the vacuum of space itself. Jack sat in the cockpit, staring at the blank holoscreen where the Dominion commander's face had been. Kira stood behind him, her silver hair catching the faint blue glow of the consoles. She didn't move, but her trembling hands betrayed the storm inside her. "They won't stop," she said softly. "They will keep coming." Jack leaned back in his chair, exhaling sharply. "Yeah, I know. But if they think I'm just going to hand you over, they've got another thing coming." her glowing eyes fixed on him. "Why risk your life for me? You owe me nothing." He glanced at her, his jaw tightening. "Because you're not their weapon anymore, and because—" His voice caught for a moment before he forced it steady. "Because I can't stand the thought of them tearing you apart." For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then her lips curved into a small, fragile smile, the kind that looked almost impossible on someone who wasn't supposed to feel at all. But the warmth of that moment didn't last. The radar beeped. Multiple signals. Closing fast. Jack's eyes widened. "You've got to be kidding me." Kira leaned over the console, scanning the data. A full strike wing. At least 10 ships. 10. Jack slammed his fist against the armrest. "This is insane. I can't outrun that many." Her expression darkened. "Then I must fight." Jack looked at her sharply. "No. Last time you almost fried yourself. If I hadn't been there," she cut him off, her voice firm. "If you are not with me now, we both die." His stomach twisted. She was right. The first barrage hit them before Jack could even grab the controls. The freighter shook violently, alarms blaring. Sparks rained from the ceiling as panels overloaded. Jack swerved hard, weaving between asteroids, but plasma fire chased them relentlessly. He could feel the ship groaning under the stress. Kira stood by the weapons console, her body glowing brighter and brighter. She glanced at him, her voice trembling. "Jack, touch me." He rushed to her side, pressing his hand against her arm. Instantly, her shaking stopped. Her glow stabilized, and her eyes blazed with sharp focus. Cannons roared. The freighter spat fire into the void, tearing through 2 Dominion ships in quick bursts. Jack gritted his teeth. "That's it. Keep going." But then he noticed her skin. Steam hissed from her body, her circuits glowing dangerously hot. She was pushing beyond safe limits. "Kira, slow down. I cannot," she gasped. Voice trembled between machine and human tone. "If I stop, we die." Jack cursed under his breath, holding on tighter. He could feel the raw energy surging through her, crackling into his arm. His muscles tensed painfully, but he didn't let go. Another ship exploded in a brilliant flash, then another. The odds shifted in their favor, but Kira's body shook violently. Her voice broke, half moan, half cry. Jack can't control it. Suddenly, the weapon cannons went wild. They fired in random directions, missing targets, scorching asteroids, nearly tearing their own ship apart. "Kira!" Jack shouted, shaking her. "Focus." Her glowing eyes locked on his. But they were different, now wild, unstable, like lightning trapped in glass. Her voice was low and desperate. "It's too much. I can't contain it." Jack made a choice. He stepped closer and wrapped his arms around her, pulling her against his chest. His hands pressed firmly over her core panel, grounding her surge directly. Her body convulsed. Against him, glowing brighter than ever. Energy ripped through his muscles, searing his nerves, making his vision blur. He gritted his teeth, refusing to let go. "Stay with me, Kira," he growled. "You're not a weapon. You're more than this." She screamed, her voice glitching with static, then moaned in broken syllables. "Don't stop, Jack, please." The ship shook violently as another blast hit, but Kira's cannons steadied under his touch. Guided by his presence, she unleashed a devastating barrage, shredding the Dominion ships one after another. Explosions painted the void in fire and light. Finally, silence. The last enemy ship broke apart, pieces scattering into the endless dark. But Kira's body collapsed in Jack's arms, smoke rising from her circuits. Jack fell to his knees with her, panting heavily, his muscles screaming from the energy. "Burn," he looked down at her pale face, her glow dimmed to a faint flicker. Kira, stay with me. Her lips parted weakly. You didn't let go. Damn right I didn't, he muttered, holding her tighter. Her eyes softened, and for a moment she looked almost human. Then maybe I am alive after all. Her glow faded into unconsciousness, leaving Jack clutching her limp form. Hours passed before Kira stirred again. Jack sat by her side in the medbay, his arm bandaged where her energy had burned him. He hadn't slept. He couldn't. When her eyes finally opened, faint blue light shimmering, relief washed over him. "You're awake," he said softly. She blinked slowly, her voice weak. "You risked yourself. Why?" Jack leaned back, exhausted. "Because you're not just some machine to me, Kira. I don't care what the Dominion says. You're worth fighting for." Her glowing eyes glistened, as if tears might form if she were capable. Her voice trembled. "Then I am not a failure." Jack reached out, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "No, you're the farthest thing from a failure I've ever seen." Her lips curved faintly, and for the first time, the words she spoke sounded almost human. "Thank you." Later, as Jack adjusted the ship's course away from Dominion space, he caught Kira watching him quietly. "What is it?" he asked. She hesitated, then said, "Every time you touch me, my systems change. At first, I thought it was malfunction, but now I believe it is something else." Jack raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" Her eyes locked with his, glowing steady and strong. Feeling, Jack froze. His chest tightened. Before he could answer, the radar beeped again. Another signal. Not Dominion, this time something larger, unknown. Kira straightened, her body tense. They are not alone. Others are coming. Jack clenched his fists, eyes narrowing at the screen. "Then let them come," he muttered. "As long as you're with me, we'll fight them all." Kira's hand reached for his, trembling but determined. When their fingers touched, her glow steadied again. Her voice was soft but filled with conviction. "Then I am not afraid." The ship drifted in silence, hiding in the shadow of a barren moon. Jack leaned back in the pilot's chair, staring blankly at the glowing controls. His muscles still ached from the energy surges, and faint burns marked his arms, reminders of what it had cost him to stabilize Kira. He glanced over his shoulder. She sat quietly on the edge of the co-pilot seat, her silver hair falling like liquid light down her shoulders. Her glowing blue eyes were dimmer than before, but steady. She looked calm, but he could feel the storm inside her. For the first time since he had found her drifting in the void, there was no immediate fight, no patrols chasing them. But the silence wasn't peace. It was the breath before the storm. Jack exhaled and rubbed his temples. "You nearly burned yourself out back there." Kira tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "I warned you, my systems are unstable." "Yeah, I noticed," Jack muttered with a dry laugh. Then he leaned forward, elbows on his knees, voice quieter. "But you fought like hell. You saved us." Her lips curved faintly, but it wasn't quite a smile. "No, we saved us. I would have lost control if not for you." Jack met her gaze, and the intensity there made his chest tighten. "You don't get it, do you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I cannot function without you. Every touch from you rewrites my core. It changes me. It steadies me." Jack swallowed hard. "You're saying you'd fall apart without me?" Her glowing eyes shimmered. "Yes. At first I thought it was malfunction, dependency, a flaw. But now," she hesitated, her hands tightening into fists. "Now I think it is something more." Jack leaned back, his throat dry. He had heard machines speak before, AI programs that mimicked emotion. But this wasn't the same. Her voice wasn't programmed. It was raw, What do you mean? He asked softly. Her gaze didn't waver. Feeling? When you touch me, I don't just stabilize. I feel I do not understand it completely. But I know I do not want it to stop. Jack's heart pounded. He turned away, staring out the viewport at the endless stars. Kira, you're talking like you're human, am I not? She whispered. The question hit him harder than enemy fire.
Oh.
He opened his mouth, then shut it. Finally, he said, "You're more human than the Dominion bastards who made you. That's for sure." Her lips curved again, softer this time, and her trembling hand reached toward his. Jack froze, then let her fingers touch his. The faint glow from her skin warmed his hand. "Then do not leave me," she said, almost pleading. "Promise me, Jack, no matter what happens." His chest tightened, but his voice was steady. "I'm not going anywhere." The radar pinged again an hour later. Jack cursed under his breath. They weren't alone, but this time it wasn't Dominion ships. The scan showed a massive vessel drifting ahead, silent, no active weapons. A derelict or bait, eh? Kira's eyes narrowed. That is no Dominion signature. It belongs to the Valari Syndicate. Jack groaned. Pirates, just what I needed. They are worse than Dominion, Kira said darkly. They will sell anything. Slaves, weapons, even technology. They don't understand. Her voice dropped lower. If they discover me, they will strip me apart piece by piece. Jack's hands tightened on the controls. Not happening. I'll burn them first. But before he could turn away, a comm signal cut through the static. A gruff voice filled the cockpit. Unmarked freighter. You're trespassing on Syndicate space. Power down your engines, and we'll let you live. Jack muttered under his breath. Of course. Kira touched his shoulder, her voice urgent. We cannot fight them. They are too many. Jack turned to her. Then what do you suggest, handing you over? Her eyes flared. No, never. Good, because that's not an option. He smirked grimly, fingers dancing across the console. We run. Engines roared to life. The freighter shot forward, diving into the shadows of the derelict vessel ahead. The Syndicate ships gave chase instantly, plasma fire lighting up the void. Kira gripped the weapons console, but her hands trembled. Jack, I cannot hold much longer without. He reached across and grabbed her hand, grounding her again. Her glow steadied, her eyes sharpening like steel. Together, they weaved between the husks of old warships, dodging fire. Kira's cannons blazed, striking Syndicate hunters one by one. But there were too many. For every ship destroyed, two more appeared. The freighter shook violently, alarms blaring. Jack cursed. We can't keep this up. Kira's body glowed brighter, dangerously so. Steam hissed from her skin. Her voice broke with strain. Jack, I must release all my energy. It is the only way. His stomach dropped. No, you'll fry yourself. She met his eyes, desperate. If I do not, we both die. He shook his head fiercely. I'm not letting you burn yourself out. Her trembling hand cupped his cheek. The glow from her skin stung, but her touch was gentle. Jack, please. Trust me. Your touch can guide me. Without you, I will destroy everything. With you, maybe I can control it. Jack's throat tightened. He wanted to refuse, but the fire in her eyes burned stronger than fear. He pulled her into his arms, holding her against his chest, his hands pressing over her core. Energy surged violently, nearly knocking him unconscious, but he gritted his teeth and held on. Do it, he growled. I've got you. Kira's body arched in his grip, her glow erupting like a star. A scream tore from her lips, half human, half machine. But Jack's hold kept her from shattering. A blinding wave of energy exploded from the freighter, tearing through the Syndicate ships. One by one, they erupted in flames, their debris scattering into the void. When the light faded, silence returned. Only the freighter remained, drifting among wreckage. Jack slumped against the console, his body shaking from the energy burn. Kira lay limp in his arms, steam rising from her skin. He whispered hoarsely, "You did it. You're insane, but you did it." Her eyes fluttered open faintly. "No, we did it." Then she smiled weakly. "Jack, I think I understand now. These are not malfunctions. They are feelings. I feel for you." Jack froze. His chest tightened. He wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. The truth was in her trembling voice, in her glowing eyes, in the way his own heart raced every time she touched him. "Kira," he began, but she cut him off with a whisper. "Don't stop, Jack. Don't ever stop." Her eyes dimmed as exhaustion took her, leaving him holding her close in the flickering light of the cockpit. Hours later, Jack sat by her side in the med bay. He had stabilized her again, but she remained unconscious, her glow faint. He stared at her face, wondering how he had gone from a simple cargo hauler to this, the most dangerous, fragile, and important person in the galaxy lying in his arms. He whispered to her, even though she couldn't hear. "You're not just a machine, and you're not just my responsibility. You're more than that." For the first time in years, Jack realized he wasn't afraid of dying. What terrified him was the thought of losing her, and he knew then, with absolute certainty, he would burn the galaxy down before letting anyone take her away. The scars of battle still marked the little freighter, but the stars outside looked calm and innocent, as if the galaxy had not tried to kill them an hour ago. Jack stood in the cockpit with his hands on the rail, breathing slowly, counting each rise and fall of his chest until the ache in his muscles settled into a dull burn. Behind him, Kira moved quietly, her steps soft, her glow steady but low, like a candle shielded from wind. "Status?" Jack asked without turning around. "Engines." "At 60%, Kira said, her voice calm but tired. "Weapons offline for cooling. Hull integrity at 70. Stealth grid operational, but not perfect. We are hidden for the moment, not safe." Jack nodded and finally faced her. "Moment is good. I'll take it." She studied his bandaged forearms, the places where her energy had burned him when he grounded her, and a small crease formed between her brows. "You are hurt," she said. "And you are alive," he answered, trying to smile. "I can live with the trade." Her eyes softened, but before she could reply, the console chimed with a sound neither of them wanted to hear. Kira stepped forward and read the scan. The glow in her eyes flickered. "Dominion hyperlane pings. Multiple jumps, they are converging on our vector." They triangulated the syndicate blast. "We broadcast a flare to half the sector when I released my energy." Jack's jaw tightened. "Of course we did." Kira's hands curled into fists at her sides. "They will not stop. If this continues, they will catch us. If they board, I will be taken. If I am taken, you will be killed." Jack watched her face and saw the decision formed there, like frost spreading over glass. "No," he said, as if he could freeze the thought before it finished. She lifted her chin. "A failsafe exists inside me. If capture is certain, my core detonates. A clean end, no technology left for them to reclaim. No pain for you." Jack stepped closer until her glow touched his chest like warm light. "Absolutely not. You are not a device running a script. You are not a line in a manual. You are Kira." Her voice softened, "and you are stubborn. But logic is not on your side." "Then we break the logic," he said. "If they can track us, something in the network is still listening for you. We cut the ears off that network." Kira turned to the star map as if the stars might agree or argue. The Dominion locator net spans 50 systems. It is anchored by relay vaults. The closest vault is at Cinder Gate. If we destroy the vault, we blind this arm of the net. We buy time. Jack leaned over the map, tracing routes with 2 burned. Finger Cinder Gate. Old mining choke point. Heavy fortification. Unmanned most days, Kira said. Automated guns, drones, a single garrison ship on standby. The danger is the vault itself. My creators built it with a control field that interfaces with me. If I touch it, my kill switch may engage. Jack met her eyes. Then you don't touch it alone. Something like fear moved behind her calm face. If the field triggers the failsafe, my core will cascade in seconds. There will be no time to run. Then I hold you, Jack said, simple as breathing. Keep you grounded. We channel the cascade somewhere else. Into the vault, into its own coils. We make it eat itself. Kira stared at him for a long, still moment, and in that moment, the broken pieces of her past were visible like stars through clear water. Finally, she nodded once. If we try this, there's a chance you die. He exhaled and gave a small, crooked smile. There was a chance I'd die the day I bought this ship. I'm upgrading the odds with better company. Her lips curved, fragile and real. Then we go to Cinder Gate. The approach was a thin blade walking across a storm. Kira tuned her internal transponder to an old Dominion salvage code and wrapped the freighter in a faint mimic of official traffic. Jack threaded the ship through the debris corridor like a needle through cloth. Keeping to the cold shadows of dead rock, the vault appeared ahead. Stamped into a black asteroid like a metal heart buried in stone, its ribs made of antennae, spires, and gray armor plates that drank. Starlight, garrison's ship, not present, Kira said. Lucky or bait, Jack muttered. They burned thrusters for a slow drift and matched the vault's rotation. Kira opened a maintenance port with codes she should not have known, but did. A narrow docking collar latched onto a hatch so small it might have been forgotten by time. Jack lifted the locker lid and pulled out 2 vacuum suits. His moved like any old spacer's skin. Hers was something he had stitched for her from hard suit parts and shield capacitors. A strange armor built for a person who was part storm. He helped her seal the last ring at her neck. She lifted her hands and covered his for a second longer, then kneaded. If I lose control, she said, you must let go. He shook his head. That sounds like the one thing I can't do. Her voice dropped to a whisper that trembled without static. Then, at least, listen. If I say run, you run. He held her gaze until the fear in it transformed into resolve. Let's end there. Hunt. The hatch opened to a narrow throat of metal that smelled like cold iron and old dust. Drone eyes blinked in the ceiling like blue insects. Kira's presence fooled them. Jack's silence passed under their notice like a shadow that remembered how to be still. They climbed down a maintenance shaft. Boots brushing cable looms, gloves skimming warning glyphs that meant nothing to Jack and everything to Kira. She moved like a person reading the memory of a place she had never been. Every step guided by patterns she did not want to own but could not forget. At the bottom of the shaft, a round door waited with a symbol stamped into its Centaur spiral. Cut by a line, the mark of the core field. The air seemed to buzz near it, like a throat preparing to speak a name. Kira stopped. The glow in her chest brightened and steadied, as if something inside her stood up to meet an old enemy. This is it, she said. Beyond this door is the coupling column. If I link to it, I can shut the vault down. The fail-safe engages. I will explode. Jack took her hand through the suit gloves, even through layers. The contact made both of them breathe easier. We do this together. You are not alone in there. She looked at their joined hands. You make me believe impossible. Things good, he said gently. Because we're about to do one, the door rolled open on a circle of black metal and white light. The chamber beyond rose like a cathedral built for machines. A column of pale energy climbed from floor to ceiling, wrapped in coils and lattice. Of alloy, humming a slow, patient song. Kira stepped into the room, and the song changed. The column brightened, reading her as its purpose. A wave of pressure pressed against Jack's suit like deep water. He took another step anyway. "Kira," he said, his voice calm in her ear. "I'm here." She nodded once and opened the panel. At her sternum, the plates parted like petals, and the glow inside her was not a weapon's glare, but the steady light of a living star trapped in careful geometry. "Your hands," she said. He placed his palms over the frame of her core, felt. The hum that had become familiar and terrible and beautiful. The world narrowed to that touch, to her breath. To the trembling edge where fear became courage. She reached out her other hand and touched the coupling column. The vault woke fully, and a net unseen and vast reached through her for ownership. The kill switch recognized the command and bared its teeth. Kira gasped as the trigger chain lit. "It is engaging, I cannot jack." He tightened his hold, teeth set against the surge that hit him like lightning trying to make a home in his bones. "With me," he said, voice rough but steady. "Take it with me. Give the cascade a path. Don't let it circle inside you." Her body arched, and the chamber filled with a keening note that was more than machine sound. She clutched his wrist like a drowning swimmer finding a rope. "Don't stop, human," she whispered, raw and fierce. "Do not let go. Never," he said, meaning every letter. He slid a manual shunt line from his belt, jammed its clamp into a service port on the column, and with the other end he bridged her core frame so the kill cascade would choose the lower resistance, not her heart of light. The world bloomed white behind his eyes, and pain became a horizon without edges. He spoke to her through it, steady as a metronome. "What did you hear in the escape pod when I found you?" "Your voice," she said, shaking, holding, resisting. "I heard care in a place built for cold." "What did you see the first time we fired together?" "Your hands," she said, and the surge bent, a river finding a new bed. "You were shaking. You held me anyway. What are you now?" he asked as alarms rose in the vault like distant thunder. She breathed in and chose her answer. "Alive," she said, and the word bridged something no wire could reach. The cascade hit the shunt hard, raced into the column, and rammed itself into the vault's own coils. The floor trembled. The cathedral of metal sang a different note. Not patient now, but angry. Not certain now, but afraid. "Go," Jack said, even as his knees buckled. "Ride it back into the machine. Make it theirs." Kira stepped with him, never breaking contact, never losing the path. She poured the failsafe into the vault, poured everything they were not willing to lose, everything they could afford to give, until the column cracked light like ice breaking in spring. "Now," she said, voice steady as a blade. "We run." They ran, the door sealed behind them with a scream of overloaded motors. Drones woke in the shaft, eyes red, wings in a cloud. Jack fired a cutter, in short, clean bursts. Kira moved like a line of light drawn through darkness. The hatch at the top opened to their ship like a last good chance. They threw themselves into the airlock as the vault detonated. The blast. The stars outside the viewport stretched into threads of light as the freighter drifted through jump space. Silent, except for the low hum of the engines. Jack sat in the pilot's chair, one hand on the controls, the other resting absently against his bandaged arm. His body still ached from the energy burns, but his mind was far from the pain. His thoughts circled around the silver-haired figure sitting quietly beside him, Kira. She gazed at the stars without speaking, her glowing blue eyes reflecting the endless light. For once, she wasn't trembling or glitching. Her glow was steady, calm, almost serene. She looked alive, and Jack couldn't shake the thought that this calm was only temporary. The Dominion wouldn't stop. The vault at Cindergate was destroyed, yes, but that would only slow them down. When they realized what had happened, they would send fleets. They would hunt across every system, burn every world if it meant reclaiming their lost weapon. Jack broke the silence. You know they'll keep coming, right? Kira turned her head, her eyes soft. Yes, I was made to be theirs. Till I am Ash. They will not rest. He leaned back, exhaling. Then maybe we don't give them the chance. We find somewhere quiet. A world at the edge of nowhere. Hide. Kira tilted her head, considering. You could hide without me. Leave me. On a dead world. They will follow me, not you. Jack's jaw tightened. Not happening. Don't ever suggest it again. Her lips curved faintly, the ghost of a smile. You are reckless, human. Yeah, he muttered. Reckless enough to keep you alive. Hours. Later, the freighter exited jump space near a forgotten system, a small yellow sun with only 2 rocky planets orbiting it. No stations, no trade lanes, no colonies. Just silence. Jack guided the ship toward the darker of the 2 planets, its surface scarred by craters and dried seas. Place looks dead. Perfect for us. But as they drew closer, the sensors lit up. Jack frowned. What the hell? Dozens of signals pulsed across the planet's surface. Dominion signatures, ships, camps, a forward base. Kira stiffened beside him. They are here. They spread faster than I expected. Jack cursed under his breath and pulled the ship away, but it was too late. A Dominion cruiser rose from the planet's shadow, its weapons already charging. They found us, Jack said grimly. The comm screen flickered, and the same scarred commander from before appeared, his cold eyes burning with triumph. Human, the commander sneered. Your defiance ends here. Hand over the construct, and I may give you a quick death. Kira stepped forward, her voice sharp. I am not your construct. I am not your weapon. The commander laughed. You are a machine that forgot its place. But do not worry, your memory will be erased when we rebuild you. His gaze turned to Jack. And you, human, will be dissected for daring to touch what is ours. The screen cut off. Weapons locked. Jack's hands gripped the controls. But the cruiser was too powerful. They couldn't win in a head-on fight. Not like this. Kira touched his shoulder, her voice quiet but steady. There is only one way. I must trigger the failsafe. This time, I will not stop it. My explosion will destroy their cruiser. Jack turned on her sharply. No, we've been through this. Her eyes glowed brighter, but her voice was gentle. Jack, if I do not, you will die. And then I will be taken. Better I end it now. He shook his head violently. You think I fought all this way just to watch you blow yourself up? Forget it. Jack, no. His voice broke, raw. He grabbed her arms, holding her tightly. You're not just circuits. You're not just light in a machine. You're Kira. And you matter to me. You think I'll let you die? Over my dead body? Her lips parted, her eyes wide, trembling with something deeper than fear. Jack. Why fight so hard for me? He met her gaze, unflinching. Because I love you. The words fell into the silence like stones into deep water. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Kira's lips curved slowly, and her trembling stilled. Love, she whispered. So that is what I feel. I love you, Jack. Before he could speak again, alarms screamed. The cruiser fired. A wave of plasma lit up the void. Jack slammed the controls, dodging hard, but the freighter shook violently under the blast. Panels cracked, sparks rained. The hull wouldn't hold long. Kira stood, glowing brighter, her chest panel opening to reveal the light of her core. Then let us do this together. Not my death. Our choice. Jack understood instantly. She wasn't asking to explode. She was asking to merge her power with the ship, to push it beyond its limits. Even if it burned her out. He grabbed her hands, pressing them against her core. Energy surged violently through him, but he held on. I've got you. Let's show them what alive really means. Their bodies became conduits, human and machine united. Kira poured her energy into him, into the ship, into the weapons. Freighter roared to life, its cannons burning brighter than they ever had. Jack screamed as he fired. The glow of Kira's core wrapping around them both. Beams of pure energy tore through the cruiser's shields, ripping straight into its heart. The Dominion ship exploded in a storm of fire and broken metal, its pieces scattering into the void. Silence followed. The freighter drifted, smoking, broken, but alive. Jack collapsed into his chair, his chest heaving. Beside him, Kira slumped against him, her glow dim but steady. He held her tightly. You did it. We did it. Her voice was weak, but her lips curved. Alive, she whispered. We are alive? Jack rested his forehead against hers, and free. Together. Days later, the freighter limped into the orbit of a quiet, uncharted world. Jack guided it down to a valley surrounded by mountains, where no scanners could reach. They stepped out onto the barren ground, the wind cold, the sky filled with strange stars. Kira stood beside him, silver hair dancing in the wind, her glowing eyes reflecting the sky. She looked at him and took his hand. What now? She asked softly. Jack smiled faintly. Now, we build something of our own. No dominion, no hunters. Just us. Her lips curved into a real smile this time, warm and alive. Then, I am not afraid. Together, they walked into the unknown, hand in hand, no longer machine and human, but something greater proof that even in the cold void of space, life and love could defy the chains of those who tried to control it.